All right, this is Pamela Zeman with Elemental Cuisine, magical foods from the plant kingdom. And I'm so happy to say we have Gene Younger of Clear Vision Naturally here to talk with us a little bit about eyes and nutrition and just the whole concept of how we can see naturally. So thanks a lot for being here, Gene, on this New Year's Day.
Well, thank you, Pamela, and Happy New Year to you and all of your listeners.
Hey, thank you so much. You know, it's so great to be able to think that you can actually cure your eyesight naturally and ditch your glasses. I know I met you last year when I heard you first on Beyond 50 radio show, and you were talking about how you could actually take off your glasses and see. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into that?
Well, actually, Pamela, I had been nearsighted for a number of years. I'd been wearing glasses for nearsighted for a number of years, and I had no idea that there was some natural way to heal your eyesight. And I met a young lady named Gloria Gann who taught the Bates method. And as soon as I heard her story, I said, I've got to have, that's for me. And so I took some lessons with her, and my eyesight began to improve dramatically.
Yeah.
So within 6 months, I could pass the driver's test in California. And before that, I could hardly read the top line on the Snellen chart.
Oh, that is amazing. That is such an empowering feeling to know that you can actually do this on your own and that your body can heal. It's like any other part of our body is designed to heal naturally. Like, why not our eyesight?
Well, that's how Dr. Bates got into this. He questioned that when he started having trouble with his own eyesight. He said, it doesn't make sense that the body, that, you know, nature would create the body to heal itself everywhere except eyesight.
Yeah.
So he began doing research and discovered that all of the theories, or most of the theories of optometry and ophthalmology, as far as eyesight was concerned, were just backwards. Mm-hmm. That the opposite was true. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that was taught and believed was that if you need glasses and don't wear them, your eyes will get worse. And the opposite is true.
Yeah.
If you wear glasses, your eyes will get... My eyes got worse.
And my eyes got worse, too. I wore them for 30 years.
And as soon as I stopped wearing them all the time and began to do the Bates method, I didn't need them. You know, gradually I didn't need them anymore.
One of the reasons that I also contacted you was because I saw a DVD called Raw for Life, and there was a part of me that said, hey, look at, none of these people are wearing glasses. And it's not to say that all raw fooders don't wear glasses, but it was just that connection for me when I looked at that video, that DVD, and I thought, look at these people. None of them have glasses. And then with, you know, how coincidences work, that's when I heard you on Beyond 50 radio show. So can you tell us a little bit about how nutrition plays into eyesight? Like what percent of nutrition actually goes to support our vision?
I've been told that about 30% of our nutrition goes to support our vision. So you can see that if we have better nutrition, we're going to have a much better platform. You know, we're going to have a better foundation for correcting our eyesight.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of a holistic, or it is a holistic process. When we're doing other things to improve and correct our eyesight, we need to also give our eyes the best chance by providing good nutrition.
It sounds like a real support system, like a lot of us haven't had, to just support ourselves nutritionally, holistically, like stress release and all of these different factors that play into good natural eyesight.
Yeah, and someone said that, Pamela, someone said that raw food is live food, cooked food is dead food, and processed food is no food at all.
Oh, wow. That pretty much sums it up. And it reminds me, I think it was Thomas Quackenbush that said to his clients, he said, if you're eating margarine, I can't work with you, because he was so dedicated to seeing that the system really worked. That was one of his criteria.
Yeah. Well, getting all your nutrition from food is the best, the best way is to get it from food. And then sometimes we can't always get it from food. And sometimes we have to take supplements. But the best food, as I said, is live food. And that means eating a lot of fresh greens, fresh vegetables, and get them as close to the farm as you can. In other words, getting them organically raised and quickly, brought to you, instead of being on the shelf or being in the back room for 2 weeks and then brought out for 2 weeks. I saw this doctor at, just a minute, I'll tell you his name. I saw this doctor at the Raw Food Retreat from Germany, and he was said that if you had that food has a biophotons, and the biophotons diminish from the time that the food is first picked. The biophotons begin to diminish. Mm-hmm. And he said if you could go to the store with a biophoton meter and put it on the greens that are on the shelf, you would be amazed how the biophotons have, and compare that to before they're picked.
Yeah. You'd
be amazed at how much difference. His name is John Schweitzer, and he's a medical doctor in Germany. He said that one of the reasons that our food is so lacking in nutrition is because of the lapse of time when it's picked until we actually consume it.
It makes sense. I worked at a CSA this last summer, community supported agriculture, and that food we cut right off the vine, and it just tasted completely different. And also, not everybody is growing wheatgrass, but I know you've grown wheatgrass, and you cut that right and eat it right away, drink it right away.
Yeah, I do that now. In fact, I'm looking right at 2 trays of wheatgrass that are growing. One that I actually just put out yesterday or day before yesterday, and it's already about 3 inches high. The wheatgrass is especially important that they say it's especially important that you drink it immediately and dilute it as little as possible.
Uh-huh.
So, in other words, the nutrients in wheatgrass goes down faster than it does in, say, spinach or celery or romaine lettuce or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the wheatgrass powders? I know there's a lot of green powders out there for people who just don't, have the initiative to grow their own wheatgrass and juice it themselves.
I would prefer that people consider they're frozen. If you can afford to, it's a little more expensive, but growing wheatgrass is also work. I mean, you have to tend to it. You have to take care of it, and you have to do things at a certain time so that it does require a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. But you can there are places where you can order frozen wheatgrass that comes like in a 1 ounce. And what they do is they quick freeze it, cryogenically freeze it, so that it's, I don't know, I've been told that it has like 75% good as...
If you get the frozen. Yeah, well, that's really good to know. Thanks for that, Gene. Yeah, and as far as the cost goes, too, I remember my parents always said, pay now or pay later. With this food, sometimes there's a voice that says, oh, it's too expensive. But when you think about thousands of dollars for glasses and, getting new glasses all the time, and just that whole feeling of freedom, I mean, what is that worth it's worth quite a bit to me. And I know my priorities have changed a lot with regards to just spending what it takes, the time and the energy and the money to really empower ourselves and to support ourselves in healing all aspects of our physical body.
And you'll find that gradually your budget, your amount you spend will go down.
Yeah.
It goes up at first, but it'll go down over time. But one of the things that I recommend and have recommended for the last 4 or 5 years is having a Vitamix blender. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize, but the advantage of a Vitamix is that it totally destroys the cellulose walls of the plant matter so that it's pre-digested. So when you make a green smoothie with a Vitamix blender and you drink it, it goes into your system immediately rather than you having to generate several cups of hydrochloric acid to digest it. Uh-huh. And so people say, well, wait a minute, I can't afford a Vitamix. I can get a blender for $100 and a Vitamix costs maybe $400. And I just remind them, how much does a bypass cost?
Yeah, really.
I mean, just think about it. If
Yeah.
you're, like you say, pay now or pay later, and the Vitamix will last you forever, and there's so many uses for it.
And is there a way that you can use a Vitamix if people don't want to get a wheatgrass juicer? Can you find a way to use a Vitamix to blend up the wheatgrass?
Yeah, you can juice it. In fact, if you go online, I have a YouTube on how to juice wheatgrass in a Vitamix blender.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it is possible. I find that I use a manual juicer just simply because it's purer. Mm-hmm. I don't have it's not so because you have to dilute it with water and or ice when you use a Vitamix. And so it's to me it's better if I juice it with a manual juicer mm-hmm. and drink it right away. But yes, it is possible to do it with a Vitamix, and sometimes I do, especially if I decide, I think I'll have a green smoothie with spinach and some frozen fruit, and I'm going to put some. I think I'll put about 2 ounces of wheatgrass juice in it. So in that case, I juice the wheatgrass in the Vitamix, and then get the pulp out because you can't digest wheatgrass pulp. Uh-huh. And then put it back in the Vitamix and juice the spinach and the frozen fruit and things like that, and whatever I want in it, and it makes a powerful green smoothie.
Yeah, that's great. And, like you said in the beginning, it's kind of almost doing the opposite. When I heard you on the radio show with Beyond 50 Radio with Daniel Davis, you were saying that in our culture, we have the consciousness that says, okay, you get older, you will just inevitably need glasses. And our culture, in mass consciousness, there's so much of this belief system that says you need glasses, and to be able to think outside that box and to be able to say, you know what, I think it is possible. How strong does our belief system have to be in order to counteract all the influences coming at us from 99% of the population out there?
Well, I challenge anybody to try it for 2 weeks and see what happens. See how they're actually seeing, what they're experiencing. You
mean taking off the glasses?
Yeah, and also doing some Bates method activities, exercises. Uh-huh. I have a program that people can buy off my website that they can begin doing the exercise at home. And most everybody reports that they get almost immediate results from mm-hmm. doing that. Mm-hmm. So, be your own test. Dr. Bates said I was my own patient. I was my first patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so decide for yourself.
And it's great. I got that program last year, and I remember when I was first doing those exercises and just taking off my glasses. You know, a lot of people, I think, go into this thinking it's about your eyesight, but your whole vision on life can change. And it's like going down the rabbit hole where there's so much more involved. And, you know, it's like, why did we create this blur? Why did we start to shut out the world is how I look at it. And it really opened my eyes. And now if I have to put on a reduced prescription, if I'm driving at night or some times that I just still need a little bit of support, I feel like my eyes are in a straitjacket. I just feel like I got to get my glasses off because it just feels so uncomfortable, not only for my eyes, but my whole sense of freedom.
Yeah, it's impossible for you to see naturally wearing glasses most of the time. Mm-hmm. You have to give your eyes a chance to accommodate and focus naturally.
And there's a certain amount of fear. I know I've talked to some of my friends that just take off their glasses for a few minutes and they get really scared because I don't know why that is.
Well, they got scared when they got the glasses, probably. In other words, if you go back to what was going on when they got the glasses, there's a very likely that there was something fearful going on at that time or something traumatic.
So it's emotional as well as nutritional and the holistic approach to it.
Yeah, our eye muscles are the most sensitive muscles in the body to our emotions. I mean, if you look at somebody, and look at their eyes, you can tell if they're happy or they're sad or afraid or whatever. Or even inquisitive. You can tell if they have a question. Uh-huh. You can look at their eyes and say if they have a question. And so the eyes are the most responsive to our emotions of all the muscles in our body. And so then it makes sense that if we change our emotions, then we're going to be able to change our eyesight.
Wow.
And if we refuse to change our emotions, then that makes it very difficult for our eyes to see naturally.
So what would you say to people who say, I don't have the time to relax, I can't just do these exercises and do the palming exercises, I have this busy life to do. How does that affect their eyesight?
Well, I think you need to make priorities, of course. I have this belief that we get 1,440 minutes per day. That's how many I get. That's how many you get. That's how many everybody gets. 1,440. And so I suggest that people dedicate or set aside 40 minutes in their day to doing activities to improve or correct their eyesight. Now, this is not the whole story, but this is a good place to start. Mm-hmm. And how many minutes does that leave you?
Quite a few. 1,400.
1,400.
Yeah.
And so do you think you could get by with that as far as working, playing, eating, preparing your meals, driving, whatever you have to do?
Right.
Okay, now the second part of the story is that you're not limited to those 40 minutes in doing activities to improve or correct your eyesight, because then you still have part of that 1,400 that lend themselves to doing activities intermittently.
Mm-hmm. And they can find that on your home study program.
Yeah, and of course I coach people all the time on how to take some of the specific eye exercises and modify them to be able to do them anywhere. Mm-hmm. While driving or walking or working at the computer or standing in line at the grocery store or whatever.
It sounds like a whole new way of seeing the world.
And it is, and it changes your consciousness, because over and over again, clients have told me that they weren't even aware that the world was three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And they started doing the Bates method, and I say, "Wow, I didn't see that before."
Amazing. Amazing.
Go ahead.
Well, it just reminds me that you travel to Ecuador from time to time. And what have you found with the indigenous cultures down there as far as just their whole mental attitude about life? What do you think is different about North Americans, for example, than how they live their lives?
Well, they're not in such a big hurry, for one thing. Part of that might have to do with in that particular culture, there's always going to be plenty of food. You know, there's fruit, plenty of food. I'm not saying there's not poverty there, but people are not trying to, get ahead of each other. They're not. It's not like a dog-eat-dog world like we have here. People are much more open and helpful and loving. But one of the things that I discovered, Pamela, the last time I was in Ecuador, I stayed 3 months and I visited various parts of Ecuador, and there is a huge indigenous population there that have pretty much maintained their culture. And it was real obvious to me that they weren't wearing glasses. I couldn't I saw one indigenous person wearing glasses the whole time I was there. And so I started asking questions like doctors, school teachers, just ordinary people that I would meet. What's going on that these indigenous people are not wearing glasses? Well, the obvious answer was they don't have any money. But then I realized that was not a good answer, because many of the indigenous people are, do quite well. They could afford glasses if they wanted to, but they don't need them. They don't need them because they have a much more relaxed lifestyle, and they don't strain to see. They're not even people in the jungle, for instance, where you and I would be scared to death because of the various dangers from snakes and wild animals and things, but they're not, because they are part of nature. In other words, they're close to nature, whereas we're not.
Oh, that's beautiful. Makes me want to go. I mean, just can you imagine our whole world living life as part of nature, being connected to Mother Earth and just relaxing into it and still having a very active life, but it's just a whole shift in consciousness.
That's true. And I'm not an expert on this subject, but I do believe that one of the reasons that indigenous people in Ecuador don't wear glasses is because they have a more relaxed life, that they're not. And the second thing is, which is really, really important, is that they have never been told that they needed them.
Right.
And so I can give you some examples. For instance, I'm working with a young lady now that's 9 years old here in Portland. And we've had to deal with the fact that the school decided that she needed glasses. They sent her to the nurse tested her, and then they said, no, she's got to go and have glasses.
Right.
And they don't get a choice.
Yeah. It's so terrifying for a 9-year-old.
Yeah, she didn't want glasses. She refuses to wear glasses. And so her mother is negotiate with the school. And if it fails, then she's just going to take her out of school and homeschool her.
Oh, wow.
That's how serious she is about not, wanting her to wear glasses. Second big reason is because they haven't been brainwashed to believe that they have got to have glasses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember my little nephew when he was about 6 or 7 watching TV. Some pharmaceutical ad came on, and he looked at me and he goes, am I going to need to do that? It's just like they're little sponges, and they just... you just see people with glasses. You see it everywhere, and you just think after a while that it's inevitable. But it's really sad, especially for the kids who really a lot of times don't have a choice in the matter. They get stuck with these glasses, and it's like a crutch they wear for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, when you see a child maybe 9 years old or even 7 years old that's wearing glasses, you can almost guess that there has been something traumatic going on in that household.
Yeah. Yeah, where they just wanted to shut it out or...
Yeah. I have people telling me that all the time. In fact, last week, one of my clients was telling me his story about when he was growing up, how he just, his way to deal with the world was just to shut it out, shut it down, not look at it.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And of course, he started needing glasses when he was about the 7th grade.
So you find that more with nearsighted kids, that they need them earlier?
Well, more children are nearsighted than farsighted. That's been my experience.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but I seldom get a child that's farsighted.
And I hear so many people in their 40s, 50s, and they say, yep, I'm going to need those readers pretty soon. So I think that's part of mass consciousness, too, where we just automatically take on those beliefs like I'm at that age where I need these reader glasses.
Well, it's even more powerful than that, Pam. It's programming yourself.
Yeah.
You know, our subconscious mind is listening to whatever we say, think, feel, or believe. So if we believe deeply that we're going to need reading glasses, then our subconscious begins to create those conditions, because that's our creative mind that doesn't really have a lot of judgmental or judgment. You know, it just does whatever you tell it to do.
Yeah, pretty much if it hears it or you say it, at the end of every sentence, it's, and so it is. It's like our subconscious is saying, and so it is. If that's what you want, here's what you get.
Exactly. And one thing I want to say about nutrition.
Yeah.
Is that nutrition starts, Pamela, with water.
Uh-huh.
And oftentimes we forget that. Is that, they say that 80% of people in our culture are dehydrated most of the time. And so we don't take into consideration that water is very essential for good eyesight. And drinking enough water, there is plenty of water. We don't have, in this culture, we don't have a problem with water. We can get good water. We can get clean water, filtered water. And so what's the excuse? Well, we just aren't we haven't trained ourselves to drink more water. Mm-hmm. Even if you get a water bottle and carry it with you, which I've done that off and on for years, it's still not that easy, is it?
It really isn't. It's hard for a lot of people.
Well, I'll tell you my secret.
Okay.
My secret is in the morning, I take 2-quart jars and fill them with water. And I can visibly, I'm looking at one of them right now, I can visibly see how much water I've drank. Mm-hmm. So a minimum of 2 quarts, which is 8-ounce glasses. And of course, I drink more than that. But
that's a great idea. It's a great idea. And also, I think with raw food, if you're eating raw apples, raw pineapple, whatever it is loaded with a high water content. Now, we have to be careful with the dehydrated foods because a lot of raw fooders dehydrate a lot, and it takes all the water out of it. So we have to drink even more water if we're eating a lot of dehydrated foods.
Well, that's true. And so drinking 64 ounces of water, plus all the water you get from fresh greens and other vegetables, you're probably going to get plenty. Mm-hmm. At least compared to what you've been getting.
What would you say are the biggest enemies as far as food products that people consume today? The biggest enemies to your natural vision?
Probably sugar, white sugar. It's one of the most toxic substances that we put in our bodies, and our body is not able to assimilate it. It changes the way we process the vitamins. It just overloads our system, actually. And so the worst thing is white sugar. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I think anything processed like that, and sugar is in, spaghetti sauce. Sugar is in so many things that you wouldn't think, but once you start reading the labels, it's everywhere, and it's hidden with different names like dextrose and all the different names that you might not think of as sugar, but it's in there.
Yeah, and high fructose corn syrup has gotten so much publicity now that I don't know. I think they've changed the name of it or something.
Yeah, and it's all genetically modified too, which people really need to be aware of.
Yeah. The other thing is, since we can't get all of our vitamins and minerals and nutrients in food, many holistic ophthalmologists have recommended that we take supplements like lutein. Lutein is found in green leafy vegetables like spinach, kale, romaine, lettuce, collards, and fruit. But like for instance, if you eat a large bowl of spinach, it only contains about 6 milligrams of lutein.
Right.
And you're not going to do that every day. So we need about 10 milligrams of lutein every day, and you could, you can get some of that from food, but you might also need to consider. I take a supplement myself, and the other one that is recommended is bilberry. Bilberry is found in bilberries, but also found in blueberries. There's a substance found in those two berries that are very, very good for the eyes.
And what about carrots?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's been a long held belief. Like you cut you cut a carrot open and it looks like the iris of an eye. So it's automatically, that tells you, eat more carrots for your eyes.
Yeah, I like to put a carrot in every green smoothie. If I just do one. The other thing I like to do is, which I do a lot of, is juice carrots. And I juice those in the Vitamix, by the way.
Yeah.
So I juice them, and then I take the pulp out.
I see. Well, and I've heard a little bit about goji berries recently, too, that goji berries are real good for your eyes.
I've heard that, too, but I haven't tried them.
Yeah, I think, like you say, really to get it fresh off the vine as close to where you live as possible. I don't know how many people grow goji berries around here, but, there are just so many things to consider. I think, like you said before, test it out for yourself. Really get into listening to your inherent wisdom within and feel what feels right to you. What does your body need?
Yes, and everything starts with a decision. So since this is the first day of a new year, there are lots of people around the planet making decisions. Like I'm going to do more of this in 2013, or I'm going to do less of this, and, I'm going to quit doing that, and I'm going to start doing this, all the different resolutions that we make. So today is a good day to make a decision to support your eyesight with good nutrition. And once you make the decision, the whole universe will support you. In other words, all the information you need will come to you.
Once you've made a clear decision without any hesitation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then just pay attention and everything you need will come.
Well, that is so inspiring, and I'm so glad that you were able to take out a few minutes and talk with us here today, Gene. Are there any last comments you'd like for people who are listening? Maybe they're wearing glasses or have been wearing glasses for 20 or 30 years, and they're a little bit intrigued by this, but they still want to integrate a little bit and say, hey, is this really possible? What would you say would be the first step for them to take?
Well, I think that taking your glasses off and giving your eyes a chance to to normalize,
Mm-hmm.
and decide to start today going without your glasses some part of every day, even if it's only 15 minutes at the beginning, and then increase it. And the second thing is that I just have one rule. And that rule is that if what you're doing to improve or correct your vision is stressful, it's probably not going to improve or correct your vision. It might even make it worse.
Uh-huh.
So you've got to start paying attention to what is stressful and what is relaxing. Now, most all of the Bates exercises have and activities have a relaxation component, so that the eye muscles and you relax, your eye muscles relax, your eyes relax, your mind relaxes, and that puts you in a state where you can actually retrain, relearn how to see, retrain your eyes to see.
Nice. How they've always known how to do it. And I think when people hear the word exercise, they think of pumping iron or running and getting out of breath and all of that. But exercise with the Bates method is really something very different.
Yeah, I use that word because I can't find a better one.
Uh-huh.
But, you're right. Your eye muscles do not need to be any stronger. In fact, medical science says the eye muscle is the strongest muscle in the body in relationship to its job. That it's like 400 times as strong as it needs to be. So the eye muscles don't need to be stronger. They need to be more supple and responsive.
Ah, because they move so quickly.
Exactly. The eyes are changing shape every nanosecond.
Uh-huh.
When we think about the eyeball changing shape, it's easy to think of it happening real slow, but it's not. It happens rapidly, very rapidly.
And when people wear glasses, they're pretty much stuck at seeing one particular distance.
Exactly. The glasses do the change for them.
Wow. Very interesting. Well, again, if people want to check out your home study kit, which is excellent, I say, it's at clearvisionnaturally.com. Is that correct, Gene?
That's a good place to start.
Okay.
And that's my main website. And feel free to contact me. There's a button on there that says contact us, and anyone can click on that anytime and send me a message, and I will answer it.
Okay, and you'll get it even if you're in Ecuador?
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's awesome. And if they want any more information on nutrition, elementalcuisine.com is a good place to go. And again, thank you so much, Gene. I appreciate everything you're doing in the world, not just for people's natural vision, but just to be able to see the world in a whole new light.
Well, thank you, Pamela. And once again, Happy New Year to you and to your family of listeners and students and clients.
Okay, you take care, Gene.
All right.
Bye.